Live data on Indian assets with Pakistan. Turkey has assisted Pakistan with drones, and that's the information that's now exposing the China-Pakistan-Turkey nexus. According to Army's Deputy Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Rahul R Singh, 81% of the military hardware with Pakistan is Chinese. China is able to test its weapons against other weapons, so it's like a live lab available to China. Turkey also played an important role in providing the type of support it did. When DGMO level talks were on, Pakistan had the live updates of India's important vectors. Who was supplying them that information? Your guess is as good as mine. It was China. Given that Islamabad is China's biggest weapons client, and the Dragon wants to use Pakistan as an opportunity for experimentation, including the deployment of advanced platforms and surveillance systems in real-world conflict scenarios. How will New Delhi deal with three adversaries, Pakistan, China and Turkey, at its borders? That's a question we'll be probing today. And what should be India's threshold for starting another Operation Sindoor-like response? Remember, post-Operation Sindoor, we've already signaled our own resolve, our fight against terrorism being sponsored by Pakistan. But remember, it is not an end goal in itself. Perhaps what it is just a piece of the larger puzzle in the larger geostrategic chessboard, one that's marked by the convergence of China, Pakistan, Turkey's multi-dimensional interests against India. So for the first time since Operation Sindoor, Indian Army has also revealed that China shared real-time intel with Pakistan and used it as live data. But how did they do this, and how did India foil that plan? Let me break it down for you, because China sought India's intel information through Signet aircraft and radar sweeps. China then shared this information with Pakistan through Chinese ELINT platforms. India has been using electronic warfare, and it has also got Project Custodial jammers disrupted China's attempt. Indian jammers also neutralized enemy drones and artillery accuracy. India used Sky Striker drones, BrahMos Scalp EG cruise missiles to do the very same. Target decisions were also compressed to under 60 minutes to avoid leaks and maintain surprise. Remember, it's no surprise why Pakistani politicians are today admitting openly in press conferences that they were left in a state of panic when India released the BrahMos. We also tell you how India crushed enemy's arsenal during Operation Sindoor. It was HQ-9B, marketed as China's equivalent of the US Patriot system. It failed to intercept Indian Scalp stealth cruise missiles and Hammer glide bombs. HQ-16 failed to detect Indian missiles or even aircraft during the same operation that left Pakistani airspace exposed and equally vulnerable. A radar unit stationed in Gujranwala was destroyed by Indian Harok loitering munitions, highlighting poor mobility and weak counter-drone defenses from Pakistan's side. PL-15 missile. It's a fully intact Chinese origin PL-15 long-range air-to-air missile which was recovered in Hoshiarpur, Punjab. Believed to be fired from a PAF-JF-17, this missile failed to detonate at all. Chinese drones Wing Long 2 and the CH-4 easily intercepted by India's Akash, and the 200 systems due to poor maneuverability and lack of stealth, making them ineffective in contested airspace. India even shot down the Turkish kamikaze and Nasagard Songar drones, use S-400 Akash and anti-drone tech to do so. Now remember, Turkey also is now emerging as one of the front suppliers to Pakistan. China and Pakistan, of course, maintain a deeply integrated military and intelligence partnership. It's described as ironclad due to its resilience and scope. In fact, China is the single largest supplier of modern military tech to Pakistan today. More than 60% of all Pakistan Army's weapons are Chinese origins or Chinese made. Almost every branch of the Pakistan military, air, sea, land, now has Chinese origin or China-supported weapons. Their missile technology and air defense systems are areas where Chinese influence is the strongest. China and Pakistan nexus was long known, but this revelation that's come today to the forefront, it shapes a new dynamic in India-China ties. Why is this concerning? Let me break it down for you. Coordinated moves could also stretch India's defense across two fronts. Because remember, you're not just looking at Pakistan, you're looking at China and Turkey. India faces the risk of being simultaneously engaged by China in the north and Pakistan in the west. Real-time coordination also means that Pakistan could serve as a proxy or force multiplier for China, complicating India's defense planning. Perhaps it's already doing so, especially after India and China's conflict in Galwan. If Chinese systems are tracking and sharing Indian vectors, it means India's military movements are being monitored in real time by an adversarial alliance between China and Pakistan. Vulnerabilities in Indian communication, radar or satellite defenses may be exploited. Perhaps they already are being. Pakistan is serving as a proxy or force multiplier for China. Chinese weapon testing and intelligence sharing has emboldened Pakistan, making it even more aggressive in its posture towards New Delhi. It's undermining peace efforts and also increasing the risk of escalation. Also raises the question, can talks and terror go hand in hand? Perhaps it's not just applied to Islamabad, now even to Beijing. If China is experimenting with next-gen warfare, that is AI, cyber, electronic warfare through Pakistan, it may gain a tactical edge over India. And so when it comes to Operation Sindoor, India's three adversaries, Pak, China, Turkey, Nexus, is this the new axis of evil challenging India? We'll deep dive into that question in just a bit.
Another thing that China perhaps has seen is that he is able to test his weapons against, say, various other weapon systems that are there. It's like a live lab which is available. When the DGMO level talks were going on, Pakistan actually was mentioning that we know that your such and such important sort of vector is primed and it is ready for action. I would request you to perhaps, pull it back. So he was getting live inputs as far as from China.
All right, let me introduce my panelists today. I'm joined in my Ambassador Anil Trigunayak, former diplomat, Tarak Kartha, former director at NSCS, Air Marshal VPS Rana, who's a former IAF officer and defense expert. Many thanks to you, Tara, and the gentleman for joining in. Air Marshal Rana, I want to bring you in on when it comes to defending our borders, how is India supposed to defend against not just Pakistan, especially when it comes to its own interoperability that's now coming in from the Chinese PLA directly? What is the kind of threat that India is looking at? That there was military assistance coming directly from China, it happens to be one of the largest clients to China, is an open secret. But what is the new revelation in your assessment?
China, this is something nothing new as far as the defense preparedness is concerned. We have always said that we have to be ready for two-front war. That means that China and Pakistan fighting with India in collusion. We have always had that in mind while doing our preparation. But these revelations, obviously, while nothing new in it, but they are alarming in a sense that China is actually now using Pakistan as a total proxy to fight its own war with India. And like rightly said by the deputy chief, Pakistan is actually working like a laboratory for China. They are wanting to test all their weapons, whatever the refinement they need to do, whatever deficiency they see, they prepare those weapons for the next time round. And we have seen this, like there were so many deficiencies noted, whether it was air-to-air missiles, whether it was surface-to-air missiles, or many other weaponaries. So that there was quite a bit was found lacking in Chinese weaponry. And I'm sure China is going back with all that data that they have collected in this operations, going back to the drawing board and setting it right be it about the tactics, be it about the weapons capabilities, or any other refinement that they see.
Okay, Tara, I want to bring you in on the fact that we are also talking about intelligence sharing today. Perhaps that is what also was a very critical point that was being made by Lieutenant General Rahul Singh. And that's I want to bring you in on the cyber and electromagnetic spectrum warfare. That's also going to now pose a new challenge, especially when it comes to real-time conflict.
Absolutely, Akansha. The intelligence sharing, of course, is nothing new. It's been there for years. But what we are now talking of is live intelligence, right? What is going to happen? What's happening right now in terms of in terms of battle, not just intelligence in terms of militancy, etc. So on. Here, I just want to bring out there is this 2018. I think it got completed. This OFC cable linking Rawalpindi to China. And it is maintained by the Pakistan Army, the communications organization which it controls. It is also used for revenue, but it is primarily a Pakistan Army Beijing cooperative endeavor. That's the first sign we had of actual, data feeds from Chinese satellites. They've got about 1,000 satellites, 50 just in the Petosa system. And that satellite data, in terms of actual targeting data, is available to them. And that is the most dangerous, for us. In terms of, in fact, oddly enough, in terms of intel per se, many a time, China had advanced intelligence before Pakistan had it, of certain attacks, which Pakistan said, oh, that was, a road accident, and China said, no, that was a terrorist incident. So can you imagine the level of penetration into that country? So this is for us is a formidable challenge beyond being I get the point the Air Marshal was making on this being a lab for Chinese weapons, but it's much, much, much more than that.
It's formidable and it's equally strategic. I'm sure Ambassador Trigunayat will also agree with me, because remember, Ambassador Trigunayat, in having Pakistan do their dirty job, they are also, we've seen that how Pakistan's been acting as their proxy, especially after Galwan conflict. For the benefit of our viewers, put this into perspective for us. That how does China stand to gain?
I fully agree with what the predecessors have said. But let me also understate the fact that for China, Pakistan is like its one additional state. It is not a proxy. It is its tool, which it uses against India to keep India always engaged. And as far as India is concerned, I believe that when we are preparing for our defense, it is not Pakistan alone that is in our minds. As Air Marshal said, we are looking at a 2 or 2.5 front war. And that is the reason that India, despite these Chinese assistance, intelligence, cooperation, equipment, everything, India was able to prevail. I mean, so we are preparing for that worst case scenario where all of them are against us. And that's why we were able to do so. Let us also not forget that China is going to be our challenge in every single geography, not only on our borders, not only with Pakistan, everywhere else. So we need to be very careful. As far as their support for terrorism is concerned, it is not Pakistan alone that is indulging in terrorism. Covering them up at the UN Security Council committees, 1267 and others, including the recent TRF. I mean, that clearly shows you, and also the SCO statement that could not be issued. You saw that, what happened when Rajnath Singh ji was there. So I think that we need to be very careful, but I think that India is preparing in that direction, and India is well prepared. I fully agree with Air Marshal that what General Rahul Singh said today was not something earth-shattering. Everybody knew it, that this is how it happened and this is how it happens.
No, but perhaps it was also a reminder for how India stands more prepared. I'm sure Air Marshal Rana will also agree, because that is exactly what Operation Sindoor did. It laid our own military doctrine in stone, that it was not just about coming up with a befitting response, it was also a display of our military might, of our own intelligence sharing, because he's also talked about how they identify targets, which is why in that interim period between 22nd of April up until 7th of May, that identification process was on, and that's when they eventually decided to target those 9. But I want to ask you, how will nuclear deterrence between India and Pakistan now factor in any future crisis, which by India's own admission is going to become more often, because India is going to come up with a befitting response. So how will India factor in that nuclear deterrence, given that China is actively assisting them with not just nuclear capabilities, also with building in their vectors? Marshal Rana.
Oh, okay. That question was for me.
Yes.
I thought you were asking the ambassador. Yeah, okay. We've always said, and we called it, that we are not going to be taken by the nuclear bogey whatsoever of the Pakistan. We always knew that China is assisting Pakistan in every which way, including in the nuclear domain. But as far as we are concerned, we are very clear that whatever be the threat to our nation, we are in position to take that on. We showed that in the Operation Sindoor, and we've also defined that in our new doctrinal shift also, so to say, that we categorically stated that hereinafter there is going to be no nuclear blackmail to us. We are going to take on whatever it takes to give a befitting answer to our adversary, be it on the eastern or northern front. And I think those lessons have been taken well by China, but not with this thing. China is a much bigger and capable adversary. It's way beyond their capabilities. Our alarming, there's no doubt about it, but I think we are in a position to defend every which way, whether it is in the conventional air defense domain or in the ballistic missile domain or the nuclear domain. I think we are prepared, but yes, we need to work really in a much faster pace to integrate everything that is about the BMD, the ballistic missile defenses and the conventional defenses, so that we are well protected against the nuclear threat.
Tara, will the China factor play in constraining India's options when it comes to conventional preemptive military strikes? Because I think nuclear deterrence is important, but the China factor also has to be kept in mind.
Are you asking me?
Yes, Tara.
See, in the end, for China, Beijing is worth far more than Islamabad. So that is one aspect when you think of nuclear deterrence. China doesn't want India and Pakistan to go into the nuclear sphere. They would much prefer that you remained in the conventional sphere. So when we say, I mean, it's wonderful that the armed forces say that we will take on whatever they throw at us. But for this, you have to significantly increase your conventional capability so that you don't go into the nuclear sphere. So you raise the conventional level so that there is no danger of the nuclear aspect coming in, and that requires money. So at the same time, you don't want to go in for, you don't want to go in for an arms race. You've got, limited resources. You don't want to do that either. So what do? You go under, just like the drone warfare went under the hugely expensive aircraft, the drones came in. You have to find something which will go under this. That is the way to go. Otherwise, they will exhaust you in terms of an arms race.
Okay. Ambassador Trigunayat, I also want to quickly bring in Turkey's role over here. Turkey also fears that India may supply its own defense makes to Greece. You've seen Prime Minister's visit to Cyprus, which was a very significant one in deepening and strengthening the defense cooperation. What are Turkey's fears, and is India doing enough to address the Turkish interventions at our own borders?
Well, ironically, Turkey and Pakistan have been extremely close way before Pakistan was close to China.
Right.
It is a very, very old relationship.
Yes.
And you were talking about drones. Turkey manufactures their drones in Pakistan also, by the way. So I think that this was something that they have been using here. Turkey also, because of their own geopolitical equations, will continue to support, whether it's Islamic Brotherhood or whatever, but they will continue to support Pakistan, or it's Pakistan's Islamic bomb that attracts them all the time. So I think that this is something that's going to be there. That's precisely India has changed its Mediterranean strategy. The Prime Minister's visit earlier to Greece after a very, very long time, and developing a strategic partnership, defense and security partnership. He's again this recent visit where we had to Cyprus and other areas. So these are all, we are also focusing in the Mediterranean domain, trying to create some kind of a deterrence. Because see, you have to be proactive in developing your own friendships. So in that context, Greece and Cyprus play an important role. And Turkey understands it very much. And India will supply, like rest of the world who manufactures weapons, supplies to whosoever wants. So there is no morals or values attached to it. But at the same time, we'll definitely give it to our friends. And if they happen to be Turkey's enemies, so be it.
Air Marshal Rana, this question is for you. For how long can India's coercive strategies be now imposed on Pakistan's army, given that the recent conflict has been amply capitalized by Asim Munir? He's also, of course, elevated himself to being a field marshal. So can India take more risks now when it comes to with this new military doctrine?
I think one is that India positively cannot take any chances anymore. And we have in our diplomacy also, we have categorically stated this, that hereinafter any act whatsoever of the terror attack or terrorist activity will be answered in a befitting manner. So that being given, I think we have now put ourselves at a higher pedestal of response, that in case there is any, in past there were so many times where we should have responded, but we didn't to the level that we should have. But this was the response, and this time I think it was very, very categorically stated that this is what our response is going to be, and whatever be the risk in that, we are ready to take that on. Even when we started this, we did not go to the military targets. We straight away went to the terrorist targets, knowing very well that until and unless you neutralize their air defenses, it's going to be difficult. But we took that risk. And because it was there in the national interest, it was the national policy that we are after the terrorist network and not really the military target at that point of time, unless the Pakistan responded, and then so we are ready to take those risks. I think today India is in a better position in terms of preparation, in terms of intent, to take those risks and drive the
and that brings me to my next question, which I want to take from Tara. Tara, what should define India's threshold now for a next Operation Sindoor like response? Is it going to be the psychological impact? Is it going to be the number of killings, or the continued sort of terror proxy wars that we are seeing unabated?
That's the extremely difficult question to answer, but I don't know. If it is, just before this Pahalgam occurred, there was an attack on pilgrims. If you remember, the bus crashed into the valley. Now that could have been equally bad, except that the bus crashed. Right, that could have been equal number of casualties. I think Pakistan is probably also trying to work this out, because they are very, very good at keeping things to a little below boiling point. And they've done that for years. Only going down, just after Musharraf was there, it went down and came. They're good at this. So they will calculate how to keep you engaged without actually pushing you into a war. Now that is a game which is going to be very interesting to solve, because Pakistan is not going to stop. There's no way it's going to stop. So I would assume that every time they did something, we would do something back, but not necessarily in the overt area. You have a lot of other options.
No,
So
when you say the other options, I want to bring in Ambassador Trigunayat. Ambassador Trigunayat, is it just going to be cross-border terrorism? Because remember, many have also spoken about how perhaps India should not have stopped, but we did so for the sake of strategic security at the borders. At the same time, today itself, Lieutenant General Rahul Singh has said that this time the population centers were unaffected largely. Next time they will not be. So what should define our threshold?
Well, I think that in my view, we should have some kind of a SOP with regard to as far as the response to terror acts are concerned. We should not be waiting for so long to give a response. There should be an immediate, quick response and get away with it. And I'm sure that now going forward, the Indian forces, if they want to really take action, because in that 15 days, 17 days, you do provide a lot of opportunities for various countries to react, come to the table asking you to not escalate, and those kind of things become a challenge. So I think that this time now the strategy will change. But I don't see that we are going to sit back and see terror acts being perpetrated against us. Pakistan will continue to indulge in this thing because this is the low-cost option for them. Now India is trying to make it costlier for them. That is very important because they must understand this time they were really broken apart. I mean, you listen to all these statements coming out from them. We were left with 30 seconds, 40 seconons. This is coming from their top people. So that shows that they were really in jitters.
Okay.
They ran around to the
quick
to
1 minute
Americans
to
and
each
asking
for
them-
closing thoughts. Air Marshal Rana, I want your closing thoughts because I also want to ask you about, is Operation Sindoor also going to now be a new benchmark of sorts? As an air marshal, do you think that we've been able to also form a deterrence through our own aerial might, and will that also act in our favor in the coming days?
Absolutely. I think as far as our demonstration of our capabilities were concerned, we did that very, very emphatically. The point was driven home that we are here as and when we wish and we want. We can choose the location, we can choose the precise target and be very, very precise in our targeting. We did that in all our air bases, wherever there were very, very precise targets and lethal and telling. So I think that was a demonstration enough, and I think that was the one which quickly brought the war to its conclusion, so to say, that they are asking immediately to stop, because it could have gone to any level once they saw the kind of targeting that we did and kind of precision and lethality was involved in all those attacks. I think that showed the world what capability we had. But I would also want to say that we were not tested in entirety. So we were tested in certain framework.
Fair enough.
We responded well.
Fair enough.
But I think we need to be very, very prepared, and we need to
No,
scale it up.
prepared we are perhaps. But Tarakatha, many foreign policy analysts have said that India snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. So should in future India resist the offer of an immediate victory only for the sake of a long-term goal of strategic security?
No, I don't agree at all. Because war is a very, very serious business. You can lose your entire economy in war. So this was a beautifully done. I mean, I have never seen an operation like this. Calculated at every step, and then stopped. How many wars do you know which stopped in 3 days? Having got the objectives. None. Look at the ones which are going around. This is a classic lesson which historians should definitely read.
Okay, Ambassador Trigunayat, I think we are learning a lot through these short-term conflicts, one which we've already seen happen between Israel and Iran. But what is the long-term goal over here now, especially when you talk about the long-term goals that India is looking at, especially through Operation Sindoor? What will Operation Sindoor now mean? Because India has established that it's still on.
Well, essentially what we are trying to tell Pakistan and the rest of the world is, and as Dr. Jaishankar again repeated in Washington the other day, that we are not going to take it lying down. There will be a response and firm response and decisive response from India. And we are not banking on the world endorsing it or not endorsing it, because we'll have to take care of our own interests, our own security. That's precisely the message, that India will continue on its path of securing itself. But for that, we need to be very careful in cultivating our internal security and external security in a much bigger way.
Okay. Because remember, when Operation Sindoor commenced, Indian Army had also said that they are using the strategy of red teaming. What is red teaming? It's a critical analysis of our own strengths and weaknesses, and also the strengths and weaknesses of the adversary. Perhaps these are strategies which will now be deployed, and Operation Sindoor was just the beginning of it. Many thanks to you, Tara, and the gentleman for joining in on Play and Speak. Thoroughly appreciate your time. All right, now in Tamil Nadu, Sivaganga, the death of a 29-year-old temple security guard has put a spotlight on an emboldened police. A detailed post-mortem report of the security guard has now revealed severe torture, which led to multiple brain hemorrhages. But what explains this inhumane act of Tamil Nadu police? Is state government even complicit or not? We debate that in just a bit. But before that, we break down to you the chilling details of the post-mortem report that has arrived just yesterday. 44 external injuries were found on Ajit Kumar's body to begin with. There were deep muscle wounds that point to a severe physical harm. Brain hemorrhage included head injuries, which also confirm the severity of the wounds that he had to bear. Cigarette burns, multiple deep bruises were also detected. Scalp contusions revealed in internal examination as well. And so as far as custodial death is concerned, 44 injuries, a brain hemorrhage. Why cannot DMK policemen in the uniform? That's the big question we'll be posing to our guests in just a bit.
For flimsy reasons, murders are happening. That is the state of the the society today, and this is because of the indiscipline. Is because of system created by the Dravida model DMK government.
The report confirms our allegation that it is a custodial murder, not a custodial death. Cigarette burns on his body, and 44 places. There is not even one organ which is left untouched by this brutality.
That action has started. It is for the CBI to investigate the case and find out what had happened.
All right, let me quickly introduce my esteemed panelists. I'm joined in by YG Madhuvanti, who's a leader from Tamil Nadu's BJP. Also joined in by Mr. Ashutosh Srivastav, who's a renowned lawyer at the Supreme Court. Many thanks to you both for joining in. Ashutosh, if you could share with us certain observations that have been made, because there's a lot of chatter about how there are zero convictions, but these custodial deaths on very much against those convictions.
It's very, very serious issue. And I feel that this is a brutal murder. Not only murder, it is a brutal murder, that too by the police officials themselves. If they had arrested a person, that too without any FIR, without following the rule of law, and he was taken to such a place in isolation, and he was beaten brutally like this. What was the allegation? The allegation was only that he might be involved into a theft of certain, small quantity of jewelry. But look at the brutal murder. Look at the crimes conducted by the police officials themselves. I mean, this kind of absolute powers should not be given to the police officials if they are trying to deter the common people. And if they are trying that the people should be under fear of such police officials, the government must take immediate actions. And the law doesn't say so, that the police has been given absolute powers to mercilessly kill people and, use such kind of method for investigation. There is a way to investigate. They only have the powers to investigate, that too within the framework of law. And they have been rightly prosecuted for murder under Section 103 of our new law of, BNS. And I feel that they should be prosecuted, and the prosecution also should be done at the earliest possible. I mean, the trial should be conducted at the earliest possible so that the people have some trust and faith in the police department as well. And we have seen such misuse of powers and abuse of process of law. In many of the cases, the FIRs are being registered without following any process of law, and innocent people are being also targeted like this. And I would also urge the courts, the trial courts, where these kind of matters come up for, extending the remand of the accused, that the courts must see and should not completely believe on the reports being filed by the police officials, because these reports are, many a times biased. And the courts, if they take these things seriously,
Well, that's exactly what the Madras High Court has also highlighted. On that note, let me also bring in Mr. Harish Mohammed Ibrahim, who's a political analyst, also supporting the DMK, also joined in by Mr. Sanjay Sahai, who's a former IPS officer. Many thanks to you both for joining in. Mr. Ibrahim, the question that we began with is that when there's zero conviction, what explains these custodial murders? And as the Madras High Court has raised a very critical question, does a case of theft, which has not even been proven, merit such brutality?
No, nothing there to defend this kind of brutality at any given point of time. And the state government doesn't want to get into the matter of fact of any kind of brutality, which is extrajudiciary or extra police custody death, has to be reprimanded. And number one, the state government has taken this as a more serious and at most serious level. And that is the reason within the 24 hours of autopsy report, the entire police force of 5 constables who have been there involved directly has been reprimanded and put into the jail with the BNS section 196(2)(a). And even then, later on, it has been moved to the CBCID and to the CBI with his own will of the state government by the chief minister. And even he went extra length to go ahead and console the bereaved family. So whatever said and done, these kind of efforts is just to make sure that the police brutality should end. It is a reformal change. It is not only happening in Tamil Nadu, even from later ADMK period or DMK period. For that matter, we shouldn't go ahead and defend this brutality at any given point of time. And it is a reformal change which has to be taken down to the entire police mechanism.
So, is this just a failure of police mechanism or a state failure, given that the CCTV cameras are not working, given that there was no police inquiry inside the police station? Why was there no inquiry inside the police station? It's because of a clandestine video that this entire matter has come to the forefront.
Of course, it is a mischievous things which has been done by the excessive force used by the police.
So you agree that this is a state failure?
It is not a state failure. Where it is on the down south to a couple of policemen who is doing, because the initial inquiry now which states that the one who go and got the complaint is a BJP functionary who has been close with Mr. Annamalai, and she has used the force from Delhi. She has communicated to some of the Delhi-based IAS officers, which all that has to come only during the law.
YG Madhuvanti, I think it's time you now come into the discussion.
No, this is absolutely disgusting and disgraceful for somebody to turn this whole episode into politics and say that the person who filed the complaint was a BJP functionary who's close to Annamalai. I mean, what relevance does all this have? Shall I say the law and order comes under the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu? So this is Mr. Stalin's fault. Can we say it's Mr. Stalin's fault? Will he step down? Will he resign because of this? Because this is not the first death. These are 24 deaths that have happened custodially in Tamil Nadu. Come on, ma'am. This is a loss of a life due to negligence, due to arrogance, due to ego, and due to brutality by a force that is not controlled because the Chief Minister of the state is not aware of what is happening around him or his circumstances. And you are trying to now pass the buck and say she was a BJP functionary? Shame on you, sir. On national television. to say that
No, let me
I'm
put the
not
facts.
bothered whether she's a BJP functionary or a DMK functionary or an ADMK functionary. What she did is wrong. We all agree. But what the police did was even worse. You killed somebody whom you did not even know if he actually stole the jewelry or not. You have no proof. You did not file an FIR. You did not produce this man before a magistrate within 24 hours. You hurriedly gave away the body to the family. Then your DMK functionaries tried to take his brother and somebody else to a farmhouse to try and settle this amount and give them amount of 50 lakhs and try and settle it amicably. And then you say the chief minister was very sorry about it because he spoke on the phone and said one sorry.
Mr. Ibrahim, would you like to respond to that?
This whole matter?
Yes, of course. Madam Madhuvanti, with due respect to you, no one is defending whatever the brutalities happened, which has to be reprimanded, the law should take its own course. There is no second thought about it, whether for me or whether for the state legislation, whether for the CM for that matter. Number two, the extrajudiciary concern is all about whether it has been gone beyond as an ego power. Yes, it has gone. Because the one who has complained have taken an excessive IAS who was there in Delhi, with which the entire SP is kept in dark, the entire state mechanism is kept in dark, and all those who have involved in this brutal murder will always be reprimanded, and that is the reason.
Why are we indulging in such whataboutery, Mr. Ibrahim? Please respond. Okay, I have a counter question to
There
that.
is nothing here to whataboutery
I'll
here.
tell you why. I'll tell you why. I have the RTI data. I have the RTI data in front of me, which reveals the lack of CCTV facilities in Tamil Nadu police stations. I mean, what explains that? Is this not a state failure? You can talk about BJP, you can talk about AIADMK, but for once own up to the responsibilities that belong to the state government, Mr. Ibrahim.
He has taken a responsibility. He made sure to do whatever the necessary.
This is data from 2024. 1 year on, you're still looking at lack of CCTVs within your police stations. No inquiry being conducted inside the police station itself. What explains these questions? And these are questions I have not raised. These are questions that the Madras High Court has raised.
Allow me. If that is the matter of concern, then 2016 to 2021, there is an extra police force, brutal, excessive force has killed more than 42 in ADMK government, which has been dropped down to 12.
This is what they will do. You had 42 deaths, we have 24 deaths. So your deaths are more than our deaths. Again, they're politicizing the whole situation.
Madam, don't
Is this
interrupt.
politics? Is this the time to play politics?
You are Madam, if BJP
I am
has
not
to
the
do
one
the
who started
politics
this.
in
You're the one
these
who
times,
said BJP
Madam,
functionary close
Ms.
to
BJP will always
I will come
play
to you.
politics with the dead bodies. That is not the fashion of DMK. BJP's politics is always on the dead bodies. And we have seen it in Kallakurichi, we are seeing it now.
Again, Mr. Ibrahim, you're talking about politics of other parties. What about DMK's own politics? It's it's a fact that the Dalits are being targeted.
Madam, how come you
What
want
explains under Chief Minister Stalin's government, a man who claims to be the messiah for the Dalits, standing for the underprivileged, these kind of custodial murders are happening, and they are particularly targeting the Dalit community.
This is not only the fashion of DMK government. If you want to take into account Maharashtra accounted for 66 extra police judicial brutal murder.
Right, but what explains the targeting of Dalits in Tamil Nadu?
No. If that is want to take
into
account.
Ms. Madhuvanti, I don't think I'm going to get a straight response over here, but I think BJP must answer about the number of custodial deaths in Maharashtra.
Are we questioning the fact that the custodial deaths have not happened? Or are we saying that every time something like this happens, this is what the DMK is known to do? Pass the buck and say, you did it. You did it more than us. Is that the point of discussion?
We are holding the accountability. Madam Madhuvanti, can you hold the accountability? The Chief Minister took his own hand. He is holding the responsible.
Chief Minister is in charge of law and order in Tamil Nadu. Where is the accountability? 24 custodial deaths. You first answer that before you point fingers at Maharashtra.
Madam, how much
you first answer this
scream,
Chief Minister, Tamil Nadu's Chief Minister.
Okay, I think I want to bring in Mr. Sahai. Mr. Sahai, thank you so much for so patiently awaiting your turn. I'm afraid, panelists, I'll have to mute you if you do not let the other panelists speak up. Mr. Sahai, what explains...
You asked me to speak, so I'm speaking.
Yes, yes. Mr. Sahai, what explains these unabated custodial deaths, that too since the year 2022, 24 of them?
First and foremost, first and foremost, there is complete indifference, and it is a lip service which is being played, which I can see on your television channel as well. Where it all starts is the state governments and the police leadership not taking the responsibility of what has been mandated by law. It is both the state leadership and the police leadership. Police leadership also buckles in when the state governments put pressure. It is a reality. And if you can put only 5-6 constables, put them inside, and only for the time being, the nature of investigation which will happen, it is for everybody to see. From 2017 till 2022, there are no convictions which have taken place. All custodial deaths to my understanding, and I have seen quite a few number of custodial deaths. It was investigated by the CID. I don't think much is going to come out of it. It has to be investigated by some independent agency which has the capability to investigate custodial torture, and they understand custodial torture as well. The current testament of the prosecution, the investigation, and the final trial, and people not landing in convictions, I think it is the most tragic thing which can happen. We don't have any law on custodial deaths and custodial torture in this country. What Madras High Court has talked about is the nature of brutality, which even a murderer will not inflict to the victim. So that is where we stand, and I am not ready to accept the fact that these people would be doing it for the first time. It is certainly for the first time that it is recorded with that level of clarity. The underreporting itself is huge. If you believe that all these figures are right, I would not believe that, because there are lots of deaths which finally are counted as illness or suicide.
Exactly, Mr. Abraham, what explains the juvenile's brutal custodial death in 2023, 17-year-old teenager? Instead of reforming a teenager, you are killing him, and then you are saying it was a case of food poisoning. It's just adding insult to not even injury, to a death, to a brutal death.
No, when it comes to DMK government, entire North media has been taking a magnifying glass and doing every sort of things of propaganda, which, one second, you allow me to complete. If you want to take the same magnifying glass, you should entirely survey the entire India where the BJP ruling states accounts the highest judicial murder. So we are not defending here. That's the first and foremost point. DMK government or the chief minister not defending or want to defend whatever the brutal force, excess force which has been used by the policeman in uniform. And that is the reason, even when he holds the accountability by making sure to transfer the case within 24 hours once the autopsy report has been filed. Where the Satankulam issue, if you want to make sure to brush your memory power to Madam Madhuvanti, the first case was reported on 22nd on 2020. And the first FIR after the court intervention was filed on 30th of 2020 on June. And the first arrest of 10 policemen was happening on 1st July of 2020, which is almost 10 days later.
Okay.
But where here the entire autopsy report within 24 hours, all the 5
okay, Ms.
policemen have been taken to the custody.
I want to end with Ashutosh's
what kind of accountability you are speaking about?
Okay,
what kind of accountability
fair
you
enough.
are speaking about?
Before you accuse us of not holding that magnifying glass for the
Of
BJP,
course you should.
yes, let Ms. Madhuvanti speak, and I'd appreciate if you let her.
Sure, go ahead.
My point is, what happened in Satankulam is completely wrong. Now, are you going to say that just because that happened, we done it faster, so this is not death enough? This is only a 3/4 of a death? Is that what you're trying to say? I don't understand this train of judgment.
You are not at all
I'm sorry.
understanding the crux. You are not at all
Oh my
understanding.
God,
Mr. Ibrahim,
sir,
I just requested you to allow your panelists and give them time to speak.
No, all I'm asking
It's not
is
just discourteous, it's also absolutely unchivalrous when you speak over your panelists.
That's very typical of the DMK, ma'am. I'm used to it. That's not my problem here. The problem here is they don't want to admit that the fault lies with them. They just want to keep pointing fingers. This is the question I'm asking. We are talking about a specific case today, about this boy, Ajit Kumar's custodial, deliberate planned murder, alleged murder. And all they know to say is, oh, in BJP ruled states, this happened. Oh, in Sakankulam, the FIR was filed much later. Oh, this autopsy was done much faster. Is this the answer? Where is the accountability? There is no accountability because the DMK is not known for being accountable.
Okay, Ashutosh, taking that point that Mr. Sahai was making, a very critical one. Why this is also happening rampantly is because of the lack of any responsibility, neither by the police departments or by the state leadership, because of a lack of rules. Before you go ahead, I want to read the RTI excerpt that says that pre-remand injuries of accused persons entering the Puja prison in Chennai over a period of 10 months was shocking enough, with over 300 inmates entering the prison with broken limbs. Now, take it forward.
Yes, as I said earlier also, that it is a very serious issue. And further, as I explained, that only that the high courts or the Supreme Court, they are taking cognizance of these kind of issues. But what is happening at the trial court is very serious issue. See, whenever an accused is brought to the trial court, even after the arrest within 24 hours, and the police makes a request that the remand should be extended. This is what I said, that the judge has to see the papers to its entirety and decide that the judges should not only believe on the reports being submitted by the police, because they are, most of the cases they are biased and they are never doing the things impartially. And they are somehow motivated by their seniors, by the political parties, and many such things are happening in our country, in so many of the states which we have seen. And this is what I agree to Mr. Sahai to the extent that yes, there has to be further investigation under whose instructions these 6 policemen took such as such kind of drastic steps. The seniors
less
should,
of excuses like slippery toilets or even food poisoning. Many thanks to you. We'll have to leave it at that since I'm running short of time. But towards the end, I now want to talk about Prime Minister's very interesting visit, as he's on the second leg of his 5-nation tour today. He arrived in Trinidad and Tobago to further strengthen the bilateral relationship. Prime Minister Modi was received by his counterpart Kamla Prasad Bisesar at the Piarco International Airport, where he was accorded a ceremonial welcome and even a guard of honor. During his visit, Prime Minister has called Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesar Bihar ki beti and talks about her Buxar roots. In his address, Prime Minister stressed that the Indian community members' contribution has benefited Trinidad and Tobago culturally. Remember, it has a sizable Indian diaspora. They've also benefited economically and spiritually. So what's the significance of Prime Minister's visit? He is the first head of state, head of government, as far as a bilateral visit from India to Trinidad and Tobago is concerned since 2009. The second visit of Prime Minister Modi to the Caribbean just within a period of 8 months, previously visited Guyana in November 2024. It demonstrates India's strong emphasis on Caribbean nations and the growing partnership with CARICOM. It marks the 180th anniversary of Indian immigrants' arrival in TNT. It highlights India's role as a development partner of the Global South and a trusted friend in the Caribbean. With that, we have some breaking inputs coming in. Now, on being asked about the trade deal with the United States, India's Union Commerce Minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal, has said that India has discussed on its own terms. Discussions are still ongoing with various countries, whether it is the European Union, New Zealand, Oman, the United States, Chile, or even Peru. The negotiations for agreements are underway with several countries. A free trade agreement happens only when there's mutual benefit. Remember, the emphasis is on the word mutual benefit. When the deal is made while safeguarding India's interests, keeping in mind that national interest will always remain paramount, then India is always ready to make deals with developed countries. India never makes a trade deal based on a timeline. When the deal is good, fully matured and in the national interest, then we accept it. And so that is New Delhi putting its own interests forward as well. This, remember, is in sharp contradiction to the US President Donald Trump tom-tomming the claims that India and the United States are going to come out with a big, beautiful trade deal. and he's also boasting about it, trying to take credit. But remember, India has its own set of concerns when it comes to our own agricultural sector, including dairy as well. And that's all I have for you in this edition of Plain Speak. Thank you so much for watching. Up next is The Right Stand with Anand Narasimhan. Stay tuned.
Brought to you by This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Trinidad and Tobago, and Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago Bissessar welcomes him in Indian attire. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Trinidad and Tobago early today on the second leg of his 5-nation tour, marking his first official visit to the Caribbean nation as Prime Minister. He was warmly received at the Piarco International Airport in Port of Spain with a ceremonial welcome and a guard of honor. CNN News 18 Siddhant Mishra joins us this morning. Siddhant, could you walk us through the importance and significance of this meeting?
Well, this visit of Prime Minister Modi to Trinidad Tobago is very, very significant. As we were discussing before, that 40 to 45% of the population of Trinidad Tobago is of Indian origins. And in fact, this is the first visit of Indian Prime Minister to Trinidad Tobago since 1999. The last Indian Prime Minister to visit TNT was late former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Now, Prime Minister Modi has arrived in Trinidad Tobago. In fact, he was given a very unprecedented welcome at the airport by Prime Minister of TNT, 38 cabinet ministers and 4 members of parliament. They all were present at the airport to welcome Prime Minister Modi. In fact, Prime Minister Modi just addressed a community event in TNT. In fact, we've also been told that TNT has decided to bestow upon the highest honor of TNT on Prime Minister Modi. So as we were discussing before, TNT is also a country from a global south. In the past, India has extended help and assistance to TNT in the form of rice consignment sent by India. TNT has also become the first country in the Caribbean region to accept the implementation of India's UPI platform. New agro machinery for food shortage and processing was given to TNT by India. In fact, India also supplied 40,000 doses of COVID shield vaccine under Vaccine Maitri to TNT. Also, this visit of Prime Minister Modi shows the immense importance that India accords to the Caribbean countries and reflects India's growing partnership with CARICOM. This year also marks as the 180th anniversary of the arrival of Indian immigrants in Trinidad Tobago. And this visit of Prime Minister Modi reinforces India's commitment as a development partner of the Global South and a trusted friend in the Caribbean. So a very, very important visit of Prime Minister Modi, as we discussed before. And in fact, he was given a very unprecedented welcome at the airport by Prime Minister of Trinidad Tobago, along with 38 ministers and 4 MPs. And in fact, Prime Minister just addressed a diaspora event in TNT. And in fact, Prime Minister said that the OCI cards will now be given to the 6th generation of the Indian diaspora in TNT. Prime Minister also said that India and TNT are not just connected by blood or surname. Both countries are connected by belonging. India looks out to TNT and welcomes you. The ancestor of Prime Minister Kamla, the Prime Minister of TNT, were from Bihar's Buxar. She has also visited the place. People consider her the daughter of Bihar. So Prime Minister during the diaspora event did mention that. In fact, Prime Minister also said that how when India achieves something, then the people of TNT are proud of it. And in fact, the Prime Minister said that all of you must have cheered when India's Chandrayaan-3 landed on the moon. We named the place where it landed as Shakti Point, and Indian astronaut is on board. Prime Minister was also talking about the achievements that of India in last one decade. So as I said, that's a very, very important visit. Perhaps reflects upon India's commitment to the CARICOM nations. Also, the global South it should also be seen in that.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan, and we are going to focus on the neighborhood on this Friday edition. Days ahead of Operation Sindoor, here on The Right Stand, CNN News 18 had exposed the China-Pak Nexus with exclusive input shared by Manoj Kumar Gupta, the group editor at Investigations and Security Affairs here at the News 18 network. An intelligence note accessed revealed how Pakistan was expected to follow Beijing's orders in the event of any escalation. And this is exactly what happened during Operation Sindoor. Here at CNN News 18, we had revealed, here on The Right Stand, how China was using Pakistan as a testing ground for Chinese technology